Good afternoon.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. You're welcome. Including the hours. Fine.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's 4:30, so we'll go ahead and get started with our work session for the Greenville LaFleur Consolidated School District's Board of Trustees. I ask that we do bow our head for a moment of silent prayer. Amen. And I would like to take a moment to recognize Ms. Alice Hilliard, the newly elected representative from District 4, who will begin her term January 1. So welcome, Ms. Hilliard. Colleagues, you have before you the agenda as presented. Is there anything that we would like to have added for our regular meeting?
Okay. Can you add, for the regular agenda,
Go ahead, Ms. Lewis.
an update on process standards?
So Dr. Coleman and Mr. Brooks, can you make sure that that's added for our meeting update on process standards? Okay. All right, thank you. Anything else, colleagues? Thank you, Mrs. Lewis. Colleagues, are there any policies that we need to review or you would like for us to look at? Hearing none. Number 4, Mr. Brooks, would be a review of the November 14th and November 29th minutes. Is that correct, Mr. Brooks? And those minutes should be included in our board packet. Are there any questions about the minutes, colleagues? Number 5, Mr. Brooks, your report.
The interim superintendent's report, grant reimbursement. I would like to thank Dr. Coleman for her efforts in getting reimbursement for the Department of Agriculture Rural Development grant. We're supposed to meet with them next Thursday to close that grant, and we would probably receive around $336,999
Awesome.
back.
Awesome.
And I'd just like to thank Dr. Coleman for all her hard work she did.
Thank you, Doc.
The district honored in grades 3 through 12 for their academic achievement on last year MAAP tests. The event was held Friday, November the 17th, 2023 at the LaFleur County Civic Center. Congratulations to our students on their hard work. Thanks you to the school level and district level staff members who helped to make this success, and it was a success. We had a good time and a big time out there. These are some of the members, people that donated. Bank of Commerce, Upchurch, Dixie Roofing, Dawkins, Palmer Law Office, thank you, Mr. Palmer. Educational Material, Cannon Motors, and Dr. Coleman, Ms. Winch, Ms. Johnson, and Ms. Collins solicited those donations. On November the 16th, we had a college and career fair. The district hosted the second annual college and career fair at the Leflore County Civic Center. Thursday, November the 16th, 2023, from 9 to 2. Students applied for jobs in colleges on site. The district would like to thank all of our local businesses, all the colleges and university, emergency service, and vendors who made the college and career fair a success. Leflore County High School Amanda Elsie High football team. Congratulations to the Leflore County Tigers who made it to the second round of the playoffs. We're proud of the team and thank you for your great success. Congratulations to Amanda Elsie High School Panthers who made it to the north half of the playoff Friday, November 24th, 2023. Although we experienced a 49-22 loss to Winona, we applaud our young men and our coaching staff. Thank you for your exciting seasons. The JROTC at Greenwood High participated in a drone team match in Madison, Mississippi, and they came in first place. Special congratulations to Chief Heron and his team. State testing. State testing will begin for high school students December 4th through December 15th. We are expecting our students to perform well. Christmas break. School will be out December 21st, 2023 through January 3rd, 2024 for the Christmas holidays. Wish everyone a safe, restful Christmas break. School will resume for staff professional development on Thursday, January 4th. Classes will resume for students on Friday, January 5th. First 9-week data review. I think you received some in your pack, but I would like to go over each school and tell how they did. If you didn't, Ms. Coleman has some. Did you receive this in your pack?
It's in the packet. I think everybody received the email. Thank you, Doc.
First of all, I'd like to start with Bankston. In the spring of 23, Bankston was a D. Our goal is for the spring of 24 is to be a B. The first 9 weeks, Bankston was a C. Improved from a D to a C. So we did improve at Bankston. At Davis, in the spring of 23, it was a D. In the the first 9 weeks, it was a C. So we improved at Davis. At each school, it was D, and we improved to the first 9 weeks at D at East was an F. So we didn't gain anything at F. At Leflore, the first spring of 23, it was a C, and the first 9 weeks it was a C. So we stayed the same at Leflore Elementary. Threadgill Elementary was a D in the spring of 23, and the first 9 weeks it was F. Amanda Elsie Junior High was a D, and it improved to a C. Greenwood Middle School was a C, and it first 9 weeks it improved to a B. Leflore County High School didn't have any records for the first 9 weeks, but they were a C in the spring. Amanda Elsie High School was a B, spring 23, and they improved. They stayed a B. So, based on the assessment of the first 9 week standards, 3 out of 5 elementary schools scored C rating. Greenwood Middle, Elsie Junior High, and Greenwood High School scored a B rating. The overall rating of the district cannot be determined at this time. Over 50% of the students scored level 3, 4, or 5 in LAE and math. Based on our rating, about 20% of the students are performing on grade level in ELA, grades 3 through 8, and about 10% of the students are performing on grade level in math, grade level 3 through 8.
Colleagues, are there any questions for Mr. Brooks regarding the interim superintendent's report?
Yes.
Mrs. Lewis?
Okay, based on the, information that Dr. Coleman just gave us, I was looking at LaFleur County High School, relating to math, and it's indicated on here that 8th grade math is not offered this semester.
That's correct. Ms. Johnson is with us. Ms. Johnson, can you speak to that?
Yes, I am here, it was determined, by the principal that because they're on block schedule, that he, chose to wait until the next semester to offer the 8th grade math and the 8th grade science and U.S. history. So that's why there's not any scores in those areas.
Can the principal make that decision? I thought that was a year-long course.
Well, yes, since they're on block schedule, it does not have to be. We did check on that, and the secondary director, along with Mr. Brown, made that decision to wait until the next semester to offer those 3 courses.
Okay, and then my another question is, what is specifically, what external providers do we have working with Threadgill?
Okay, as far as external provider support for Threadgill, we have the math specialist provided by MDE. We also have the literacy specialist provided by MDE as well. We had 21 days approved for external provider support through Kirkland, and those days are about up. So right now, the only support that we have will be our MDE literacy and math support.
Okay, and what support is provided from central office to these schools?
Yes, as you know, as far as Threadgill Elementary, we are out there often the entire curriculum team because we are transitioning leadership for Threadgill Elementary, and also where our new principals are, but we cover all schools, but there's a special focus on those, on the Floor Elementary, of course, with the first year principal, and also with Threadgill being in transition, and we just support just across the district. And the type of support is just ensuring that the instructional delivery model is actually implemented, and we also participated in their POCs, making sure that the face-to-face intervention and all of that is in place.
Okay, and Ms. Johnson, based on some of these test scores, is there anything that being planned differently to maybe see these test scores rise?
Well, the main thing that we're doing, we are targeting, of course, our priority standards. We are ensuring that we work with literacy really, really close, because we do recognize that there is some deficiency in literacy. So we're having to build that foundation constantly, and that's across the board, Ms. Lewis, all the way up to 8th grade. We're constantly working. We have a intervention strategic plan in place that all the interventionists have been trained on. We are implementing that plan. We also in the process of trying to set up for us after school for our 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade. We are targeting face-to-face intervention more so now than ever to ensure that we can build literacy. And because that's the root that across the board, that's where our struggle is in the area of literacy.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Moore?
You're welcome.
Mrs. Johnson, Can you
Yes,
hear
ma'am.
me?
Yes, ma'am,
You stated that two of our external providers are represented by MDE. Are they providing, when they go into the classrooms, are they actually teaching, or are they providing lesson demonstrations to our teachers for capacity building?
Yes, actually, they are providing instructional resources, they are modeling, they are coaching. We also have a data specialist provided by MDE as well that's at Threadgill. So they are teaching the teachers how to use that data to strategically plan their lesson. But yes, they are modeling, coaching, and providing resources. And also, in lines with the new high quality instructional material, they are spending a lot of time ensuring that they know how to navigate through those systems to make sure that they are aligned and the instructional routines are in place for the success and to close those achievement gaps.
One more question, either Mrs. Johnson or Dr. Coleman, in regard to capacity of teachers. Have we looked at or calculated into that variable whether or not, or the percentage, whether or not those teachers that are in these specific grades are highly qualified? Have we done that? Have we utilized that particular data of highly qualified teachers? Have we calculated that particular data into these percentages where our students are deficient and multiple gaps, and especially at Threadgill Elementary and East School? Can we
Yes.
look to see if Threadgill and East School have teachers that either need major capacity building, or we just, I don't know, we may have to recruit harder for these two schools?
Yes, and Dr. Moore, I totally agree. One of the things that we do is through classroom observation towards the end of last year, and we didn't have a huge turnover, especially not at Threadgill Elementary. One of the things we tried to strategically place, work with the principals, that we have put our teachers according to their areas of strength. So we worked on the placement in regards to them being highly qualified and so forth. Right now, Dr. Coleman may be able to speak more to that, but we, from a curriculum stance, we are working to build and strengthen, who we have right now. And we do think that they're in the right seat on the bus as far as teaching what they are strong, their strong suit. So strategically placing them, we work with the principals to do that.
Okay, so just rhetorical question, are our principals able to identify areas of strength? Just something I'm noting here. Can we
Right.
make sure that our principals are able to identify areas of strength? And then how have they identified that it's an area of strength? Are we looking at, if they are coming in, you haven't really had time to observe. If this is a new teacher coming in with a degree, but no license, but I qualify for a 1-year non-renewal, how am I going to, as a principal, how am I able to identify an area of strength other than a transcript?
Yes, and you're exactly right. The only way is through observation. Just spending time and also mentoring, teaming them with a mentor or a teacher team and allowing them to observe. And we would just have to build them. There's no way for them to, actually know except through time and through observation.
But just, moving forward, let's think on those. How are we able, if I have a new teacher, because I do recall on our last board meeting, I asked a question about some licensed teachers with pending licenses, Charlize, if you recall. And I asked, why is this pending? What makes it pending? So, I don't know.
Dr. Coleman may be able to speak to the, as far as the licensure side.
Okay. Well, if we can speak to it, if not,
Well,
it's
I
okay.
think-
Let's just think about
But
it.
Dr. Moore, I do believe Ms. Griffin addressed that question when she was here during the work session, but maybe we'll just ask her to address it again. Because
I
again,
don't
you
know if it was clear to me.
understood. I recall you asking the
Yeah,
question.
I don't know if she was able to clarify this.
Yes, I think Ms. Griffith did speak to it, so there are several reasons why a license may be pending.
Okay.
First of all, we have a new system. It's called MECA. It's not ALMS anymore. So it's more of a self-serving system. It's not as much district dependent anymore. The employee has to do much of the onset of the work, not even the colleges and universities anymore. So once the application begins, then the employee must check their emails and check their messages to make sure that they're responding to MDE. For however long it takes the employee to respond, that's how long it takes MDE to respond. Also, if a teacher has a one-year license that's non-renewable, they have to show progress. And that progress is not determined by the district, it's determined by MDE. Have they taken the praxis assessment? Have they gone back to school and obtained a higher degree? There are several factors. And then the time of year, all of the districts across the state are submitting at the exact same time. And so we do work with our staff members to become highly qualified. We have beginning of the year meeting with them, and we'll make ourselves available. We're here in the building. Hey, if you needed help, we're here. But some of it is self driven, and so the district can only see as much as the employee is working in the system. We can't see what we used to see, but MECA is a new system.
Mrs. Lewis? I'm sorry.
Also, is meeting with those employees and helping them through their process, and she's keeping up with them and letting them know we're close to not having a license renewed. This is what you need to do to get those done. So she is helping to monitor those things.
Mrs. Lewis?
Okay, Ms. Johnson, I have one other question.
Yes, ma'am.
If I can recall, when we first started looking at external providers early on in the year, it was stated that they would actually teach to the students that were in the bottom 25%. Is that going on? And if not, then why? Because I do recall us being told that they would actually work with students.
Right, and you're exactly right, Ms. Lewis. At the beginning, they only had 21 days. Those 21 days, they're used now. You asked me who was in the building as of now, but when they were in the building, yes, they were working with the bottom 25.
Okay, thank you.
I had a question.
But they don't have any, they don't have any more days.
So what about the ones that are still there?
Okay, the only one, there's no, actually, we had a math-a-thon, and that was the last group, and those days was used preparing in the area of math, which was Kirkland. So we don't have any more external providers.
Okay,
Mrs.
And Ms.
Abraham?
Pitts, I think last week was her, well, week before last, she completed her days as well.
Ms. Abraham?
What is the time limit for an instructor to reach the goals that they should reach?
Okay, when you say time limit,
Say
to
I'm
reach
teacher
the,
A, say I'm teacher A, and please excuse me, I'm old. When I got out of school, you either could teach or you didn't teach. You didn't have consultants helping you teach. So this is real concerning to me. And I don't have a problem with the consultants helping an instructor. But I'm instructor A, and you have somebody helping me, training me. There has to be some type of deadline or time interval that, that person must step up to the plate and show progress, I would think. Do we not have one in our district, a time interval that the maximum time that they are allowed to have some training? I'm not talking about ongoing continuing ed, I'm talking about competency.
Yes, I also think that in measuring the teacher capacity, it is ongoing. And they have like a teacher, a rubric for we use when we use in order to determine whether or not they are effective for us the group teacher growth rubric system. But as far as a time frame for them to actually master it, the whole thing is actually dealing and centered around the MAP assessment, because it's just ongoing, constantly having to go back and teach their priority standards and then test them. So it's like a measuring system throughout. So they are growing, and we have professional developments every Wednesday. We're working with them in POCs. We're constantly just trying to build their capacity throughout the entire process, leading up to the state assessment, and more importantly, just ensuring that our children can read and that our literacy is stronger than ever.
I have one more question. Mr. Brooks or Dr. Colvin, can you all speak to how impactful the block schedule was for the first semester? Have we gotten any feedback from parents or from principals or from students to discuss how block schedule impacted negatively or positively our regular the curriculum that we're used to, the curriculum schedule that we're used to? How did that go this semester?
I guess preliminarily we can say that most of our children have had to some degree some experience with it, because they've done dual enrollment, and so that's what happens in dual enrollment, so they've had some experience with it. So I guess the true indicator will be, students will test beginning next week, and we'll have our first real data state assessments from block scheduling. But our children are young, they're resilient. I mean, all it is just working a little faster, but they have a longer period of time today with the teacher to work. So it's kind of helped with some classroom issues. They're not moving around as much, and they have more time on task. So for many of the students who are steadfast in what they're doing, they enjoy the time. But for others, of course, they're not moving around as much. But no complaints at all.
And I guess when I say impactful, I'm piggybacking off of what Ms. Lewis stated when she brought up math. Math wasn't taught. Is that what I heard? Math wasn't taught this semester in a specific grade. Will that impact? And that question is rhetorical. But will that impact math testing data?
May I speak to that?
Yes, ma'am.
One thing about it is
We've looked at our student data. Some of our students, they were behind as relates to their assessment that they took in the 6th grade and 7th grade. With that, some of them needed foundations. So they were allowed to take foundations to help build them up for the Algebra 1 test that they'll be taking. So that was some of the mindset behind one of the schools doing that, because some of the students had so low test scores. As relates to when you're asking how has it impacted, we have students that have been behind 2 and 3 grade levels. With block scheduling, we are now allowed to offer them courses to help them catch up. We have a task force now that's an overage task force, but we have looked at those students' transcripts, and we have planned a path for graduation. Now, they may not graduate with their class that they were supposed to graduate with their cohorts, but they will graduate with their age-appropriate group. So that is what the block schedule has allowed us to do, to help students to go head on and move out of school and give them a path for success.
I appreciate that, Ms. Wentz. But when I think about, I understand about graduation rates. And I understand about the overage task force. Is that is that an inner
Yes, ma'am.
district task force?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am. This is something that we have our alternative director, we have our Excel director. I'm a part of it. We have some principals a part of it, and we have some teachers that are part of this. And what we have done is, in our SPED department, we have looked at those students' transcripts, those ones that are overage, and we have actually have a path for their success. And we have met with those parents and those students to say, if you follow, and our counselors, and if you follow this path, you will be able to graduate by this particular time. And it has allowed us also to allow children to catch up for credit recovery, so they will still stay on focus and on their path for graduation.
And I think we are discussing apples and oranges here, because I think my question specifically spoke to block scheduling impacted that grade level of 8th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade versus those high schoolers that may be behind that 8th grade, 9th grade, 7th grade. Those numbers are much higher than the overage
Right.
group.
Right, but we also have some students that possibly will have early graduations because they have gotten the Carnegie units that they need for graduation. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So that has helped because we've offered dual enrollment, so they have those options. And then with us having a block schedule, they're able to get those electives or those Carnegie units that they need. So we'll have some students that will have early graduation.
Thank you all.
Any other questions, colleagues? Hearing none. Number 6, Mr. Brooks.
Approval of the timeline to hire superintendent advertised.
So, colleagues, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, in the minutes will reflect this. I believe during our last board meeting, we may have tabled this matter. And if it's the wishes of the board, during our meeting in December, the board can take action on it. Dr. Moore, would you like to add anything to the timeline? Speak to anything? Or colleagues, any comments or feedback regarding the matter? All right, hearing none. Number 7, Mr. Brooks.
16 section report.
Good evening.
Hello.
The only thing I really have is we still have some land that we have the bids on, but we still haven't received the access for the person to be able to go and hunt and fish on the land. I'm gonna get with the board attorney and also with the county supervisor, Mr. Collins, and we're gonna go out to see if we can talk to the farmers out there to see if they will allow access, because we don't want to go to court. We just want them to go ahead and say, okay, we'll just allow you to use, or whoever wins the right to the lease, you have access to the property. But we are, like I say, we're losing money simply because we don't have access. And I want the board, make a decision. I have 2 individuals who said they have access, because one of them on the Holmes County side, they won the bid to adjacent property. So they have access, but I told them, I said, well, I can't just give it to you just because you have access. It has to be a fair bidding process. So like I said, we got to make a decision as far as what do we want to do? Do we want to take those bids that we have already and go ahead, go with them, and we're going to actually reject all the bids, turn around and do an auction and let the highest bidder win, but we still want to make sure we got the access too. So I want to hopefully get there before the 5th. Now, one of the farmers who came in, he said that he wanted to bid, but he didn't say he was going to let the person who won the bid be able to access through his property. So it's kind of convoluted, but all the same, we're trying to make sure we give whoever wins that bid access to the property.
Question, Mrs. Washington or Attorney Palmer, from a legality standpoint, is it anything that the district can do if the farmers say no, we won't grant them access, or would the district need to encumber a cost of building an access road to the particular property?
Dr. Bailey, the board would have the option to pursue litigation to force the issue to do an easement. For very layman terms, is force the landowners to allow an easement through their land to the particular property that's landlocked. So that is an option that we would have. We'll have to pursue it through the court system if we can't work out something with one or several of the landowners in order to access that particular property.
Ms. Washington, is this something that we need to act on by December the 5th meeting? Will there be enough time for you to speak with the landowners to determine?
Well, Mr. Collins said for me to give him a call, and he would be ready. I just gotta get with the attorney, see when he's got a free moment to run over there and see if we can talk to them to see what we can come up with.
We'll make our best efforts to try to bring that to fruition, Dr. Bailey, but again, I don't know what that conversation is going to be like, so I can't predict what that's going to look like by the next meeting.
Yes, sir. Any other questions or comments, colleagues?
I have one comment. If we can obtain a right-of-way or easement or whatever you want to call it to get to that land, I think we should auction that land. We need to get the maximum amount for our land, and we hadn't been doing that.
That's correct.
So the maximum way to go is to auction the land.
That's correct. And one other thing, before you go on, just FYI, with cancellation we did last week or so, the gentleman, a couple weeks ago, he did come in and make his payment. So I'm glad to announce that part.
Okay. Good deal. Anything else? That's it.
all.
All right. Thank you so much, Ms. Washington. Mr. Pipper, is he joining us tonight or doing?
Mr. President,
I'm sorry.
I would like Dr. Coleman to
Okay,
give
okay.
an update on for this district.
Okay, no problem.
Okay.
Dr. Coleman.
I did meet with Mr. Pipper this morning, and he will be here for the board meeting next week. I think what he will bring to the board is an update on several of the projects, but I would like to bring to the board's attention some of the work at Threadgill Elementary. So we just had a conversation about Threadgill and where we were academically, but we really want the board to note that very, very shortly after the Christmas break, we will have HVAC work, window restoration, and a carpet project occurring at Threadgill at the exact same time. We are already in the process of moving furniture and shifting students. Mr. Pipper will discuss the continued electrical issues on that HVAC work. Now, as an employee of the district, I would not dare support change orders, but in this case, I'm asking the board for an exception with this explanation. We spent thousands upon thousands to get this HVAC work done. All of the work is there. What we determined, the maintenance crew and myself, is that when we tried to turn on the heat, that the pipes at Threadgill were cut and capped off to support the new HVAC work. So essentially what I'm telling you is at the school where we're already having academic issues, there is no heat. The classrooms are extremely cold, and we're supporting them as best we can with electrical heaters and moving students around. We don't want to waste the money that we've already put. Again, this is my appeal. I invite you to pay a visit to Threadgill. It's extremely cold in the classrooms. Teachers are teaching with jackets on, and students are learning with jackets, hats, and gloves. And so that's just not acceptable. We're preparing the 2-story building for them to occupy. But by simply accepting the change order and approving it, we can complete the HVAC work so that the students can occupy the main building and do so comfortably. At this time, I'll entertain any questions you have. But we are, yes, sir.
Dr. Coleman, who made this contract? What is the timeline on this contract? I mean, when you take a job like this, it has to be a start and an ending point, and a midway point. Now, the last time I think I asked Mr. Pipper, had they completed anything, and the answer was no. They hadn't completed nothing.
That
So
is correct.
what is the contract? What is the ending point for it?
I will preface by saying this is what I have determined in the few months that I've been working with operations. In this short time, what I've determined is that you were sold or told that work would be completed during the weekends and holidays, and that is not the case with all contractors. Most of the work is dependent upon the ability to get supplies in on time. So if you take into account weather, getting supplies, what the contractors and their subcontractors can do and what times they are willing to work, that pushes the projects behind, which in essence inconveniences the school. Like I said, at Threadgill, we are about to have 3 major projects occurring at the same time, and students being in closed classrooms. It's happening now.
Now,
Go ahead, yes, sir.
how far are we behind? I'm trying to get to.
Gotcha.
You know, if you started, let's throw out a date. If you started July 23, and you say you're going to end December 23, all right, where are you now? That's what I would like to know.
I can tell you exactly with the HVAC. You got to remember, these things were approved long ago.
Right.
But with HVAC, if approved, December board meeting, they wouldn't be able to get the parts until January, February.
Okay.
And then you set up a meeting to begin the work. So what I'm telling you is that district staff is ready. We're on standby. We worked during the Thanksgiving break. We were at middle school doing some work. We were just trying to get it done. We're doing the best we can. We can't control the contractors. Again, you've been told that work can be done on weekends and holidays, and that's not a fact. The window restoration project, we thought it would begin next week. I was told today now, January 16th. Contractors are taking off for the Christmas holidays, and then they're going on a vacation, and so January 16th is the start date for windows.
But we were rushed to approve a contract, though.
I understand. I'm here as well. We were told that they would work.
So, I'm not in construction or any of this HVAC stuff, but it just seems as if the company that we're doing business with, every other week or every other day, there's a change order. And I'm of the opinion, and again, it's just my opinion, if you know I have $1 million and you bid my project for $400,000, there are some contingency funds in there that you should utilize if things arise, as I understand it. But why would I complete this project for $400,000? You have $50,000 for contingency for $450,000 when I know you got another $500,000 I can do a change order for and just get all of it. And again, that's just my opinion. I've never seen anything like this.
And I'm not defending our project managers by any means, but I've been sitting in the meetings, 2 to 3 meetings per week. And when the project manager says to the contractor, remember we discussed this and we discussed your availability, and the contractor said, well, yes, I did, but now I'm working with subcontractors, or this is my new availability, and the district has already entered into contract, then we're left with the students and incomplete projects.
But to Coach Vance's point, if we enter a contract, a timeline should be included, correct?
There is a timeline, but if you look at those contracts, there's always there's an out. It's dependent upon subcontractors, weather's availability, supplies. There's no way for me personally to know whether or not a company has received their supplies or not received their supplies. But I will say, we are working the staff overtime and making sure that we're prepping areas so that the work can be done as quick as possible. We're not able to complete the job. We've hired a team to do that or contractors. It's not being done. We're left holding the bag. And I understand the board's position. We've approved 1 million change orders. This is the first time that I'll come to you and to say, I'm asking you to reconsider, because we're going to leave an entire school in such a position where not only will we not have heat for the winter, but if this electrical work is not done, we won't have air for the summer. So it will continue to be a problem. And because we've already put so much into it and it needs to be completed, I'm just asking that you just please consider.
And my question too is, at least since I've been on the board, and Ms. Lewis and Dr. Moore could probably speak to this as well, we've had issues at all of our schools to some degree or another
Yes, sir.
regarding HVAC. And I know Threadgill has been one of those schools, and
Yes, sir.
in the summertime they didn't have air, but
Correct.
we approved ERSA funds to address that. But now we're saying that in the wintertime they don't have heat.
Yes, sir.
Something wrong with that picture. I mean,
Again,
clearly.
when the ductwork was completed, the pipes to the boilers were cut, in essence, disabling us to have a backup plan for the heat.
Well, I think Mr. Pipper, to me, made it very clear about the change orders with the electrical on the work. They got into the situation realizing the archaic products that they were working, the equipment they were working
The
with. You can't
age of the
make
buildings.
something- You cannot make something work with the technology today with 50 years ago. You can't do that. That was clear, and I think we as a board are remiss if we don't accept that reality. So we've been part of the delay in going on with this. Every major project has change orders. I've never known one that doesn't.
And I'll say even our contingency plan with using space heaters, we're tripping breaker boxes. I mean, the electrical systems that we have are old, outdated, and antiquated and cannot support the new modern systems. And we're in a position where, hey, I understand, but my first love are our children, and so I'm going to plead for the children.
No disagreement, but all these problems, all these change orders, again, I think they just simply speak to the need for a new facility. Yet we choose not to present that to the public. Neither here nor there. Any other comments, colleagues? Mrs. Lewis?
Since we're talking about facilities, is it okay if I veer off from answer? Okay. Had the opportunity to look at the cafeteria. I mean, it was just something I observed. The cafeteria tables over at Greenwood Middle.
Yes,
Very-
ma'am.
Very dangerous.
Yes, ma'am. We're working on getting
Something
some.
needs to be done
Yes,
yesterday.
ma'am. We had a meeting about that as well. We're working on it. We are working on it. Ms. Totten and I are working. We're trying to find some competitive prices with those tables. Yes, ma'am. Probably were the original tables purchased when the school was built.
But there are some places on there that probably need some attention real soon, because if you just back up on it, you could somebody really could sustain an injury.
Yes, ma'am. The maintenance crew, they work all Thanksgiving break, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, to do many things and to cover those areas. But of course, we have teenage children who will remove that covering just so that those areas can show. But we are working to get those new tables and chairs for the students.
All right. Any other comments, colleagues? Thank you, Dr. Coleman.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Brooks, number 9.
Gear up. Dr. Moore, I promised you that they would be here tonight, but they at the meeting on the coast, so they promised they'd be here for the board meeting next week.
Thank you.
Tell them don't submit no change order. Tell them don't submit no change order. Go ahead. Number 10 is public participation. Again, we always encourage the public to come and participate in our board meetings. We'll move on to the regular agenda. Mr. Brooks, 12.1.
Fundraising, Amanda Elder High School basketball, girls and boys. What 12.1? I'm sorry. Approval of athletic admission amounts. This is the, what we charge at the middle school, $6, high school events, $8, and, playoffs, I think it's a $10 charge. But this has not been approved by the board, and we should be board approved, these prices.
Any questions, colleagues? Hearing none. 12.2, Mr. Brooks.
Fundraising, Amanda Elder High School basketball, girls and boys.
And this begins on page 27, colleagues.
A question.
Yes, ma'am.
Is this one of the fundraisers that was submitted previously, or is this something in addition to what they've already asked?
This is one that was submitted before.
So this was on the original list?
Yeah, I think so.
You said you think it was on the original list?
I think it was, yeah.
All right, so if it was, maybe we don't have to approve it if we approved all of them. So can you all just double check? If it was, then we'll just remove it, but if not, it may need to be presented again. Under consent agenda, we have nothing personnel. Mr. Brooks, 14.1.
After school program.
And this begins on page 28. Can you give us an idea, you and Ms. Johnson? Go ahead.
I was just, Ms. Johnson, are you still there?
Yes, I am.
The president asked, could you talk to about this for a minute?
Yes, the after-school program this year is going to focus on target 2nd through 4th grade students. So there'll be 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. It will be at the following schools: Bankston, Davis, East, LaFleur, Threadgill, and Claudine Brown. The whole focus is to work on our foundational skills, getting ready for the 3rd grade GATE, the grade before 3rd grade itself, and also our students that was promoted on the Good Cause. It will be funded by a federal program through ESSA. The portion of ESSA will be the ARP, which is the America Rescue Plan portion of ESSA. We'll fund the after-school program.
I was just gonna add, this is 100% funded, federal funded.
Yes, sir.
What's the time period?
The time period, we're scheduled to do the opening on the 7th. And we're going to run it into the 3rd grade GATE test, which is in April.
One question, just backtracking about something. Colleagues, are there any other questions about this after-school program? Question, Mr. Brooks. So in the event that the change order is approved with ESSER, that would mean the buses that you all were trying to get or the district needs, we'll just have to put that on the back burner till another time?
Cut it by one bus definitely, but maybe two.
Okay, all right.
Not do away with the buses.
Okay.
One bus definitely, maybe.
Ms. House disagree. Ms. House, can you speak to that?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, so there is a little bit of room for revisions. So even with doing the change order, if MDE so do approve for us to move forward with purchasing the 10 buses, then we will still be able to purchase all 10 buses.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for the clarification. 14.2, Mr. Brooks.
Progress standard 29, in-service safety training.
Are there any questions, colleagues? Hearing none. 14.3, Mr. Brooks.
Approval of the personnel report for 2023.
And that begins on page 34 and ends on 34, I believe. Questions, colleagues? Hearing none. Mr. Brooks, Financials, 15.
Monthly financial report.
Okay. Any questions or anything you want to add, Ms. Thomas? Or any questions, colleagues?
I don't have anything to add no more than I'm still working to update that, spreadsheet that I normally give you all. And, you'll have your bank reconciliations by Friday with the updated claim.
Okay, Dr. Bailey, I think I sent an email asking that Ms. Thomas give us a state of district as it relates to finances. I don't know if she,
You talking about the monthly reports from the schools? I'll have that for you.
no. This would have been a presentation telling us what the state of the entire school district is right now, giving us a snapshot, presenting us a snapshot of where we are financially.
So,
Yeah.
quick clarification, Ms. Lewis. So you're stating a snapshot of everything listed here on the monthly financial report?
Yeah,
Okay.
verbally.
Is that okay with you, Mr. Brooks?
Sure.
Okay.
Oh,
And-
you may wanna back it up too.
Okay, and the next one
Okay.
out. Ms. Thomas, or Mr. Brooks, are we requesting our drawdown from the federal government in regards to, is it refund? Is that what I call it? Is that the right term? Reimbursement?
We do every month, House and I and Ms. Parker and I sit down together and we do our requests every month. And then I also do, other requests for other funds that we get as well as like the DHA. And we haven't really done anything with Gear Up to do those requests, but any requests that we have, I do those monthly.
Okay, and we've been receiving the response regularly? Okay, awesome.
Yes.
All right, anything else about financials, colleague, Ms. Abraham?
I wanted to ask, when you thought, we were talking about dates, we do have a December 1 deadline that has been missed before with the attendance with the state. Have we met that report that's due?
It's not a report, it's a letter that the superintendent submits to them if it's a drop in enrollment.
Has
The
anybody
ADA, I
been,
think, is it ADA?
has anything been submitted? Because December 1 is the deadline, and we lost an awful lot of money by not meeting that deadline before.
Are you aware of that, Mr. Brooks?
No, I haven't seen it.
Can you look into that if you don't mind? Thank you for bringing that up, Ms. Abraham. Mrs. Lewis wants to go back.
Yeah, I wanna go back to, we just talked about the process standard for the buses, for the bus safety. Are we in compliance? And I don't know what the process standard number is right now, as it relates to school safety. Are we in compliance up to this point?
Because our understanding, we have a process standard number or idea of what you're speaking of specifically.
As it relates to school safety, have we done everything and is everything in place that should be up to this point?
So our understanding is, ma'am,
Okay.
you're referring to active shooter, we're working with,
That plus anything else?
yes, if it's something that's not been done, no, we're not aware that we have not done.
Okay, and I guess that's why I wanted to add, an update on process standards for the next meeting.
All right, colleagues, you see under 16, we will enter executive session during our regular board meeting on next week. And those items to be discussed are interim superintendent evaluation, board evaluation, board attorney evaluation. We need to do a board evaluation too, right, Dr. Moore?
Yes.
All right, and Dr., go ahead.
The documents have been submitted to each member. If you will notice on on your tables, there are manila folders that have all of our evaluations, for the year.
And you're asking that we complete these individually and return them to you
That's correct.
before?
Yes,
We have a
absolutely.
we have a meeting tomorrow, a special call meeting, so if we have time to return them tomorrow, though.
Even if it's not tomorrow, as long as I can get it, what date is our last, December work session?
Where there's no December work session.
Okay, well then that's gonna push it.
We have a December the 5th board meeting, and then I think the next work session is like the 10th or the 16th. The 10th,
I will,
okay.
what was that?
The 10th is, January the 10th will be the next work
Work
session.
session.
When is the special call meeting tomorrow?
Tomorrow.
At what time?
5.
I didn't receive anything on that.
If you remember, we were in executive session, and we had
So
some
it was already
dates.
set, okay.
We had some dates,
I'm sorry, okay.
because I think you said one of those dates wouldn't work for you,
Right,
then the
right.
attorney, so, yes.
Okay, so that means that I'll need to pick up, or you can email me by Friday or Saturday. Friday or Saturday will really help me because I have to do an item analysis for each item, for each evaluation.
Yes, ma'am. All right, and then also, we will speak with those, prospects who may, who have expressed interest in potentially serving as interim superintendent based upon, the recommendation from our current interim superintendent. And December the 5th for our board meeting. Meet within, executive session.
So is it like an interview?
Yes.
Okay.
And tomorrow's a hearing.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, colleagues? Anything else? I'm sorry, Dr. Moore.
Yes, also I wanna note in those manila folders, you all have your board visitation forms. Please, begin your visits and have those complete by, June 30th of 24. So just, you can begin.
Anything else, Mr. Brooks?
No.
All right, so this will conclude our work session. Thank you all so much and have a safe trip home.